A wonderful morning to everyone who has joined today. From ManageEngine family, we would like to extend our warm welcome and sincere thanks to all our customers, partners, and users who are interested in our solutions. Endpoint management and security is one of our main focus areas of ManageEngine. In today's session, we will be covering patch management. Let me introduce myself. My name is Senthil, and I'm a product specialist with ManageEngine for over 6 years. I take care of endpoint management products, including Desktop Central. I'm a seasoned technical support engineer assisting customers in their implementation, consultation, and troubleshooting in case of any challenges. In today's webinar, we will be focusing on endpoint management solutions, which has different product portfolios under management and security. I would like to give you a brief note about the products which are present under endpoint and security. We have tools like Vulnerability Manager Plus, Patch Manager Plus, Browser Security Plus, Device Control, OS Deployer, Mobile Device Management, which are taking care of their own native requirement as a standalone tool. Whereas Desktop Central is a complete unified endpoint management tool, which has all these features under single roof. Rather, I would say Desktop Central is a suite of all the products supported under one web console. Apart from this, if you have a major requirement for managing only third-party applications, I would recommend Patch Connect Plus. Patch Connect Plus is a simple component which can be installed in SCCM and deploy third-party patches just through SCCM. As you can see, we offer a wide variety of products to handle any or all of your endpoint management and security concerns. To know more about the products, you shall visit our website mentioned below. Once again, I welcome you all to the Desktop Central training program. In today's session, we will be specifically discussing on handling patch management in the digital workspace, or patch management with respect to distributed workforce. Let us take a look on the overview of the training schedule. We are on week 1 of 6 series, which is patch management. This is one of the modules of our endpoint management and security suite. All these sessions will be recorded and made available in the below mentioned website, which is www.manageengine.com/EMS/free training. All the registered participants will receive an email with a recording training video. You can also attend our free training series and claim your certification on completing the series of courses. Before we start the training, I would want to quickly take you through the agenda for the day. At first, we will be having an overview of what is patch management and its features, followed by its architecture in understanding how Desktop Central works. Following this, we will be discussing about the effective ways in which you shall manage endpoints which are distributed in various geographical locations. We will also be discussing about the strategic planning in managing these endpoints and network access control. Concluding the session with most frequently asked questions with answers. During the training session, if you come across any questions, feel free to use the chat option to chat with our expert team. We will be using the Desktop Central Server build version 10.0.660 for this presentation, and this application supports all the browsers. Across the globe, we have started embracing the new normal, and for an IT administrator, the new normal now means a distributed workforce. Managing and securing devices across the distributed workforce can come with quite a lot of challenges. Let us consider a live example to understand the distributed workforce scenario better. It would be easier for us to correlate these with examples as we suggest multiple methods to manage and patch the endpoints remotely in upcoming slides. John, one of our loyal customers, who is managing a chain of hotels in multiple locations and managing over 10,000 computers in his network, which spread across the globe. As we can see from the picture, each remote office comes with its own requirement in terms of number of endpoints managed, bandwidth, and the mode of connectivity. So the IT team now has to figure out the ways to test the newly released patches, deployed in periodically, and monitor all the endpoints. Let us take a look at how John can handle both the situation with Desktop Central features. There are 2 types of users John will have to cater to. 1, users who connect to the Desktop Central server via a VPN and the users who are connecting over the internet. Apart from the roaming users, John should also revise a strategy to get the back-to-office machines up and running as offices are across the globe are slowly opening up for business reasons. This shift of remote work called for enhanced authorization, onboarding of bring your own devices, and configuring tasks according to the user's internet bandwidth. Now that the offices are opening up in some parts of the world, IT admins need to check the compliance status of the machines getting back to the office and set new deployment tasks for managing the hybrid environment effectively. We will be discussing more about this in the upcoming slides. Our organization has completely adopted the remote and distributed work culture. This can be challenging for IT admins who now have to consider various factors before initiating a patch task for the distributed workforce. Some of those factors are bandwidth constraint, keeping the end users informed about the patch task, time constraint while applying these patches. We'll be looking into these, including the factors managing and securing the distributed workforce. But before that, let us get a brief understanding what is Desktop Central. Desktop Central is a unified endpoint management solution that ensures all your endpoints are secure and enable the users to use them effectively for business. So what do we mean by a unified endpoint management solution? A popular research analyst called Forrester defines UEM as follows: products that provide a centralized policy engine for managing and securing employer laptops and mobile devices from a single console. In unified endpoint management, you can manage endpoints in a traditional IT management fashion. This includes patch management, application management, configuration, OS deployment, tools for troubleshooting, and similarly, the endpoints can also be managed with modern management. All modern operating systems support modern management, like geo-tracking, geo-fencing for your laptops and distribute store applications. Hence, with Desktop Central Unified Endpoint Management Edition, we get a complete integration of client management with mobile device management and modern management for Windows and Mac operating systems. Desktop Central Unified Endpoint Management Edition can handle all of your endpoint weapons, right from device provisioning towards vulnerability assessments, ensuring its security and supports analytical data and comprehensive reports. With Desktop Central Unified Endpoint Management Solution, you will be able to manage desktops, laptops, mobile phones, and tablets, including servers, point of sales devices, awards and recognition. Customers and users have also recognized Desktop Central as a wholesome unified endpoint management solution, and it has been awarded accolades with same under various forums. Ever wondered what are the components that you need to run this application? These are essential as well as the optional components. The Desktop Central server is the central component that you will need to install, which provides an interface to manage console. The agent is also an essential component. You will need the agent to be installed on all the machines that you are planning to manage. There is another component called notification server, and this is an interesting component. We will talk about this more in detail. When we look at the optional components, we have a distribution server, which serves as a repository for patches or softwares or scripts that you have deployed to machines in the remote office. We can create unique replication policies for each location and as per the bandwidth requirement. In case if you want high availability, you can have the failover server. This is separately licensed. Moreover, you can also use a language pack to list the web console in your preferred language. Supported operating systems. We support 3 operating system platforms for now: Windows, Mac, and Linux. Here is a complete list of operating systems supported by Desktop Central. The application server runs on the Windows platform, but you can manage the endpoints with Windows or Mac or Linux operating systems. And now we are stepping into the actual core of the webinar, which is patch management, patches, and overview. We offer support for 1,000+ applications in Desktop Central that includes Windows, Mac, and Linux, including security and non-security patches. And we also support 500+ third-party applications. You shall navigate to the below URL and identify each and every application that are supported within Desktop Central. Based on the use cases, a lot of customers had questions on which updates are supported by Desktop Central Patch Management. We support security-only updates, monthly rollups, cumulative updates, feature pack updates, optional updates, definition updates, and the automatic handling of service pack updates. We do support the extended security updates for the end-of-life operating systems like Windows 7, 2008, 2008 R2 servers. As you all know, the latest feature pack, which is currently on most of the Windows, is Windows 10 2.1H1. So once a feature pack is released, service or support will be available for 18 months to 30 months based on the edition of Windows 10 you are running. And using Desktop Central Unified Endpoint Management, you will be able to automate all these feature pack deployments. We will be seeing more information about this feature pack deployment, as well as how to automate the process under a questionnaire session. Full patch approach recommended by Microsoft. Let us take an overview on how Microsoft recommends patching for customers' environment. As you all know, the second Tuesday every month is considered to be the Patch Tuesday. During the time, Microsoft releases a lot of security and non-security updates. Most of the customers considers only the security updates and ignore the non-security updates. As you can see in this image, this is how Microsoft tests and deploy patches in their testing environment, whereas this is how it's been actually tested in customer environment. We would always recommend to give high priority to critical security updates, but post that, at least on the third week or fourth week, we recommend you to deploy all the required patches in order to achieve the fully recommended patch states by Microsoft to keep your environment healthy. Let us have an overview of the patch management architecture of Desktop Central. Whenever a patch is released, it'll be made available in vendor sites. Our crawler team repeatedly probes the internet to draw the vulnerability information from the vendor sites. Once the download is completed, the patches will be tested in our environment for successful installation, compatibility, and the applicability. Then it'll be published to the central repository. The Desktop Central server running in the customer environment subscribes to the central patch repository to download the vulnerability database periodically. Once the process is completed, the client machines will be scanned in order to identify the missing patches. After identifying the missing patches, the Desktop Central server directly downloads the required patches from the vendor sites. And the managed computers, based on from where they are connected, they can be allowed to download the patches from the Desktop Central server, or from internet directly, or through the distribution server for the remote offices. However, you will have controls to define the deployment date and time. Now let us take a look at how the endpoints can be managed in distributed workforce scenario. As we have mentioned in the example, there are two types of users John would have to cater to. Let's analyze them one by one. Patching roaming users. Firstly, we take a look at users who connect over the internet, or the so-called roaming users. There are two ways in which these users can be merged. One is through Secure Gateway Server. The domain users can connect to the Secure Gateway Server. Thereby, you don't have to expose the Desktop Central server to the internet, and all the communication between the agent and the Desktop Central server occurs through the Secure Gateway Server. I'm going to take you to the web console of Desktop Central and show you how to configure the Secure Gateway Server. This will prevent the exposure of Desktop Central server directly to the internet by serving as an intermediate between the WAN agents and Desktop Central server. We are into the Desktop Central with build version of 10.0.660 and navigating to admin, security settings, Secure Gateway Server. Configure and download the Secure Gateway Server exe to install it into the DMZ zone. By configuring this, we now have secured the communication between the Desktop Central server and the WAN agents. After this, navigate again towards admin and server settings and to NAT settings. Configure the public IP address or the FQDN to configure of the Secure Gateway Server to cater the needs of roaming users through the Secure Gateway Server. The second category of the roaming users are the work from home users who connect via internet. Most of the remote offices will be configured with a distribution server to mediate the primary Desktop Central server and the agents. And thus, the distribution server will always be configured within the local network. Hence, exposing the distribution server is not a best practice. Still, you will be able to change the mode of communication for those remote offices. Let me explain you how to achieve that. Navigate to Agent under Remote Offices. Let's choose a remote office with the distribution server. Modify. And in here, verify the communication details, which is running through the distribution server, and move that to direct communication. By changing these configurations, we shall achieve managing the work from home users connected via VPN effectively. But now the entire workforce is using VPN bandwidth to connect to the desktop central server. On an unplanned patch deployment process, the entire VPN and the internet bandwidth might be completely utilized, resulting in bandwidth overhead, and even other business critical activities might get interrupted. Considering this work from home situation, we can solve this by carefully selecting the patches and excluding the bulk updates like feature pack updates. We have another solution using direct download. Please, Desktop Central offers a feature called direct download. This is to serve the work from home users without the dependency of VPN to conserve bandwidth for the above mentioned VPN users. The agents can now directly download the patches from the internet without any dependency to the Desktop Central server. The prerequisites to enable the direct download on Desktop Central is that please ensure you're always running the Desktop Central latest build version, and push out a simple configuration to allow the VPN connected work from home endpoints to download the required patches directly from the internet without a proxy, without any dependency on the Desktop Central server. Back to Office. So there are factors that an administrator should look for when the machines are back to Office, like quarantining the non-compliant machines, updating the unpatched applications, deploying feature pack if they are outdated, because you might have not deployed the feature packs when the machines are in work from home, as it is a large upgrade package, and deploying updates based on the user's availability. We are going to discuss the situation one by one. The strategic patch management for back to Office. Previously, we have seen how to manage the endpoints during the work from home scenario, and now we shall create a patch routine to back to Office notifications. The first objective will be enabling the network access control for the non-compliant machines and identifying critical applications to patch them in priority, and then to create a system restore point for all the work from home machines. Hence, when in case of experiencing any challenges through the patch deployment tasks, we are safe to restore the backup. And that is the primary objective, to create a system restore point. And the next objective is to keep the end users informed about the patching schedule so that they can be prepared. Also, the test and newly released patches on a pilot group of machines before deploying them to the bulk computers. And based on the resulting scenarios, approve the patches and deploy them to highly vulnerable systems to generate reports for all the above mentioned activities. Let's take a look at them one by one. In order to create a system restore point, I would like to take you to the configurations. Script repository, we have a predefined template to enable system restore point. So you have the options to enable system restore and disable system restore. Add them to the repository, and once you've added, you can navigate the repository and then create them and deploy them as a configuration to enable the system restore point. And then testing the patches before deploying the patches to the production machines. So under threats and patches, we've got deployment, test, and approve. With Desktop Central, whenever the patch is released by the vendors, we test each and every update released by the vendors. We have a wide range of testing environment, and we go with that. And we have an option in here to go with automatically approve patches without testing, which means that you are going to rely on our testing results to proceed with your patch management activity. Whereas we do have an option to allow you to test and approve the patches on your own, so you can rely on any method to proceed with that testing phase. So you will have to create a test group, Choose a group of machines that is already created. Choose what kind of update you would want to test with. Include third-party applications. And define a time when you would want them to be approved automatically, or even you can proceed with a manual method to approve those patches. Automatically approve the patches after 5 days. So you can monitor those test machines for 5 days. If there is something wrong, you can, as an administrator, you will have the upper hand to get into this process and non-approve a patch. So these are the tasks that we have created to proceed with the test and approve mechanisms. Once the patches go through these test machines, and after 5 days, if everything goes good, you will be approving the patches, either manually or through the automated approval mechanism. Once the patches are approved, the automated patch deployment framework can be utilized to target your production machines to install only those approved patches automatically. So in order to create an automated patch deployment task, you have, this is supporting Windows, Mac, and Linux. You can go on with Windows, and it is exactly the same scenario what we did with test and approve. Choose what kind of updates you would want and ensure that the patches that are already tested to the test and approve, third-party updates, and then antivirus, driver updates, and choose the deployment policy. At what time, what day you want the patches to be deployed. You can create your own deployment policies. Working with millions of customers, we have provided a pretty fun list of policies, like deploy patches during business hours, deploy patches during non-business hours. You can rely on any of the predefined policies, or you can create one on your own and choose them under. Ensure that you have defined a proper deployment policy to allow the agents to install the patches as per your maintenance window, and then define target. You have the options to target your remote offices, or you can even target your entire domain. And then the filter option, you have a bunch of options in here. You can choose your sites, OU groups, part of your AD, or individual computers, or a group of machines that you have created as custom groups, or IP address. So you have a wide range of target mechanisms supported. And you can also support excluding the targets. Let's say I want all the Windows 10 operating systems in my remote office to be patched, except my Windows 10. Yes, you can exclude them. Just provide the name of the computer. Even though that machine is running on Windows 10, this will be excluded. So you will get the complete list of options, even under the excluded options. Next, configure email notifications periodically. So every 3 hours or every 12 hours, you can define this to send you a report of if there are any patch download or deployment failures, or what's going on, the deployment status, with an attachment, helping you with each and every KB number. Type in your email ID, separate multiple email IDs with a comma separated safe. There's a complete automated patch deployment task. So you can test your patches with test and approve, and completely automate to install those approved patches to your production machines through automate patch deployment task. Network access control is used to tighten the network security by restricting the endpoints that don't satisfy the compliant requirements of an organization. It enables the system administrator to allow or restrict the access to organization's network for the endpoints that fails to confirm the compliant settings defined by the administrator. If a system is found to be non-compliant, the network consequence of those systems get restricted, or the system is said to be quarantined. And also the compliant status of the quarantined machines to which compliance policies have been deployed will be checked every time when there is an IP change. You will be able to download the quarantine policy generator tool from the URL mentioned below. Please note that this tool requires a .NET 4.0 to be installed as a prerequisite. It is an exe which provides you this interface where you can define your software checks, service checks, and custom checks. If the system is found to be non-compliant, you can choose to block all network access or choose to block only internet access to the range of that you desire. You can also set the domains or IP addresses that you wish to allow the quarantine machine can access. Further, you can also set the automatically revoke the quarantine when the quarantine machines loses connectivity to all the Heartbeat machines. For more information about the network access control, please do reach out to our supportive tool. We will be able to explain that better. Creating a system restore point. We have just explored that. Priority patching. Identify critical applications to patch. In order to identify the critical patches, you will have to navigate to threats and patches, and we have a separate view to show you the critical vulnerabilities. This view will display all the updates of critical and zero-day vulnerabilities like Meltdown, Spectre, WannaCry, and you can even apply the filters from the common missing patches view. This is a view which displays all the patches that are found missing in all the missions of your network. We have a wide variety of filters. You can filter the patches based on severity, based on release date, supported date. So you can apply the filters with and or logic. And you can refine the results. What patches are you looking to be deployed? And then proceed to initiate a patch deployment mechanism. Test and approve critical patches. Before you do any sort of patching, we need to ensure that the patches are tested and approved to be safe for the production environment. As discussed, you can proceed with the test and approve method to test the patches and then monitor the test machines for a couple of days to 5 days and then proceed to approve the patches to get them towards the production machines on automate patch deployment task. Feature pack deployment. As we have discussed earlier, 2.1H1 is a recent Windows 10 feature pack update released by Microsoft. And yes, Desktop Central supports all edition of feature pack deployment to be deployed automatically. Deployment based on user availability. Let me explain you that with a web portal. Navigate to reports. Power management reports and system uptime report. With this reporting, we have supported the key details like domain name and the remote office details associated with the active user, which will eventually allow you or an administrator to define the patch deployments for these active users in work from home scenario. Benefits of enabling this report method is that to learn the pattern of users' active time in a day to plan the patch deployment activity. And even you can just export this list and import to create a new custom group directly. Create new set of policies for work from home endpoints. Here are the objectives that John has to cater to. Allow the user to skip the deployment. User scheduled a reboot policy. End user apply the patches. Let me take you to the web portal. Under threats and patches, deployment, remember that while we're creating the automate patch deployment, we were creating a deployment policy to ensure that the patches are deployed only on the maintenance window. Let me take you to the wizard on how to create the deployment policy to cater the needs of the administrator, John, for his requirement. So creating a policy, and we need to ensure the end users need to be allowed to skip the deployment, right? So I'll explain you the actual workflow of the deployment policy. So with this deployment schedule, you can control at what time, what day the patches needs to be installed. Either partial time of a week, or you can select the complete weekdays, or only during weekends, or the complete weekdays. You have the control mechanism to define at what time, what day it has to be installed. Let's go on with, let's say, 5 p.m. to 23. So we are ensuring that the patches will be installed into the target machines only on these weeks, on these days, between these times. So yes, with deployment policy, you can have complete control at what time, what day you want the patches to be installed. And then the user notification. You can notify the end users about the patch deployment activity by enabling this option. And you can also allow the user to skip the deployment with this option. You have further customizations to allow your end user to skip or postpone or minimize the prompt that is shown on his machine. And then the reboot policy. End users can be provided with a reboot prompt by the agent to allow the end users to define whether they are free, they are allowed to proceed with the reboot. And yes, agent will interact with the end user to get the confirmation at when the agent can proceed to reboot the machine. So once the patch deployment is completed, end user will get a prompt with a notification with 2 buttons, restart now and postpone restart. If the end user is busy, he can choose any option to postpone restart from 15 minutes to 1 hour, 2 hours, or 4 hours. And if the end user is free, yes, he can click on restart now to proceed rebooting the machine. If there are certain users who are not rebooting the machines at a stipulated time, you can force them to reboot the machines. So display the force reboot window after 48 hours of time. So this is going to ensure agent will not allow the end users to postpone the reboot anymore. End users will have to reboot the machines forcefully. So you have all the controls with the deployment policy to customize based on your requirements. And then this will be the prompt that will be shown to your end users to skip the reboot, or if the end user is free, he can click on restart now and click on OK to reboot the machine. And this is the prompt that shows it's a forced reboot prompt. Within 2 minutes, 1.51 minutes, it's going to be rebooted the machines. End users can also be allowed to choose a different date to postpone that reboot based on their activity. And then deployment policy for the servers in Office. In the same way, how we have created the deployment policy, we're going to define the weekend deployment times or a specific maintenance window, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. You'll be creating a deployment policy and pushing that to your servers. And most probably, if the servers or server deployment is planned on a weekend, you can even proceed with force reboot option. You have the option to force reboot your servers in here. This will be the prompt. With force reboot, end users will not have any options to control. So this can be applied for the virtual servers where no end users and just the business application is hosted. So the agent can automatically restart the machines according to your requirement. So far, we have gone through the server workstation patching and explained you the cross-platform support, test and approve the automation, flexible deployment policies, declining the patches, and collecting the reports. Here comes an important part of the managing your machines with a distributed network. Desktop Central is an on-premise solution and supports client-server model application. You can have Desktop Central Server hosted in any one of the supported operating systems. And this architecture talks about how you can manage the computers in your local area network and a WAN, wide area network. When it comes to wide area network, you can manage different remote locations from one console. They can connect either over the internet or using a VPN or MPLS connections. Secure Gateway Server helps you connect the machines that are present in a remote site, which are connected over the direct internet connection, bridges the agent traffic to the Desktop Central Server securely when they connect over the internet. When it comes to remote locations, you have a component called Distribution Server, which is used to throttle the bandwidth for the data traffic between the Desktop Central Server and the remote locations. You can also deploy configurations targeting Active Directory groups or organizational groups. So this is the architecture of how Desktop Central works in managing the distributed workforce. Here comes the next important part, which is managing the computers under a closed network. So what is closed network? A network which does not have connectivity to internet or limited connectivity is called a closed network. Even if you have a closed network architecture, you can still use Desktop Central to manage your endpoints. In this case, we need to nominate a machine which has internet connection to download the patches from the vendor sites and copy the patches to the Desktop Central server manually. In this way, you will still be able to manage the computers in closed network. In case you're looking to host the Desktop Central server in any one of the cloud server, you can use AWS or Azure. Desktop Central is also made available in AWS Marketplace and Azure. Desktop Central is available as an on-prem and also as a native cloud SaaS solution. You can sign up with the below URL to start your 30 days trial with the cloud solution of Desktop Central. If you require patch management as a separate product, then we have a standalone tool called Patch Manager Plus in both on-premise and a cloud solution. Agent installation methods. Desktop Central is running on a client-server model, which means you need to have the agent installed on all your endpoints in order to manage them. So to facilitate the agent installation, we recommend 3 methods. Group policy objective. We do have an automatic agent installation directly from the web portal. By integrating our Active Directory domain, we support push installation. We also have scripts that you can use to install the agents. Alternatively, you can download the agent manually and execute the setup directly on the machine, and it should then automatically report back to the server. Desktop Central architecture is scalable to manage different networks and even larger networks using our 90-minute refresh policy. I will explicit this in simple terms. Desktop Central agent communicates with the Desktop Central server every 90 minutes. This is called as agent refresh cycle. This feature ensures that all the computers in the network contact the server periodically. Two important factors are ensured here. Network is not choked by the agent-server communication, meaning bandwidth is not disturbed due to the agent-server communication. The performance of the server is not affected at any time. Also, Desktop Central Server has the intelligence to endure systematic streamline the communication from all the agents at regular intervals. Using this feature, we ensure a hassle-free communication from agent to server. Let's get to the ports that are used for Desktop Central. Desktop Central runs primarily on two ports, 8383, which is HTTPS, or 8020, which is HTTP. All the agents talk to the server using this port. There is one another port, 8027, which is TCP. This is used by the notification server, which is an interesting component which uses the port 8027 to perform all the on-demand activities like initiating a patch scan, to take the remote control. We will talk about this in detail on the upcoming slides. Apart from these two ports, there are other optional ports that you need to open. The important ports are listed on the screen. You can keep the respective ports open as per your requirements. Let's get to the scenarios and solutions that we have experienced with previous webinars. So do I need to secure gateway server for patching machine in work from home? Yes. The machines that are in work from home are going to communicate over the internet. So deploying or configuring a secure gateway server ensures the connectivity from those roaming agents to your central server in a more secure form. Local office machine are now at work from home. How do I make them contact Desktop Central Server? As explained from the web portal, you can modify the existing remote office configuration from distribution server-based method to a direct communication method. So once that is enabled, the work from home agents are going to communicate through the secure gateway server, ensuring the secure concern to communicate back to the central server in collecting all the requirements. Is it good practice to expose distribution server? No, not at all. Distribution server is a component that's going to be installed and configured within your internal network. And we recommend not to expose distribution server, as that is more prone towards a security concern. Is there a way for Desktop Central to download all necessary patches, then restart only once for the end users? Of course, yes. That is the design of Desktop Central patch management mechanism. If you deploy a patch configuration with 10 patches, the agents are going to download all those 10 patches and install them. After completing the installation of those 10 patches, only then it is going to process one reboot for all those applicable target machines. So yes, agent will restart once per configuration. And then when I exclude or decline a patch, is this removed from the patch management dashboard page? Yes, it is. And I would like to help you how to decline the patches before explaining you this. For that, we have two set of exclusions. One is selective exclusion. The other one is permanent exclusion. So what is selective exclusion? Let's get to the web portal. Threats and patches, deployment. Let's get to the same example of creating an automate patch deployment task with Windows. Rename the task. And let's say I wanted to deploy security updates, non-security updates, and service packs. And I wanted to go with third-party updates based on the criticality. But it would be more convenient if the product allows you to choose the applications based on their name. Yes. So yes, we do support that. So you can either choose only specific applications to be patched by this automate patch deployment, or you can go on patching all the applications, all the identified third-party applications, except some of the applications you don't want to update. Most probably the enterprise organizations will be cautioning on Java. So if you type in Java, that's going to show you all the list of Java applications supported by ManageEngine. But this is not something you're running on your organization. You'll be running a very less number of versions. So you can enable this option, show only installed applications. That's going to filter and show you what are all the versions of Java running in your organization, making it more easier for you to understand and then exclude them. So this is called selective exclusion. And this option is available for Microsoft updates as well. So you can patch all Microsoft applications except .NET, SQL Server updates, Exchange Server updates, MS Office updates, Internet Explorer updates. So we support all the Microsoft updates types here. So we can take better granular level of control in choosing and excluding certain applications not to be patched through your automate patch deployment tasks. And then, what is permanent exclusion? We have an option called decline patch. By augmenting the decline patch, you can completely isolate the patches to not to be shown or to be not to be available on the missing patches view, so that even accidentally you will not end up deploying those patches. In order to achieve the permanent exclusion, navigate to patch management or threats and patches. Under patches, you have decline patch. Create a new group. Select the group of machines that you've already created. And next, what kind of patches or applications or families you would want to decline? Yes, you can choose them in here. Let's say I want all these Dell to be declined, add, and then next, summary details. So while you choose the custom group, either you can choose your custom group, the group that you have created with your customized machines, or you can go with a global group called all computer groups. If you choose this group, that's going to be blocking the applications and patches, whatever you choose here, globally within Desktop Central, which means if you decline the latest feature pack 21H1 for all computer groups, that's not going to be showing the 21H1 feature pack for any missions of your Desktop Central. So you have the options to control declining a patch globally or within certain group of computers. And that's permanent exclusion. And later, whenever needed, you can navigate again back to the decline patch. The patches that are already declined, you can modify and remove those applications, whatever you have declined, and you can start patching those applications. So that is all about selective exclusions and permanent exclusion. The next question, our business applications misbehave occasionally, and I suspect the recent patch deployments could be cause. How can I roll back a patch? We officially support rollback for Microsoft security updates. You shall simply navigate to the patch management, systems, select any machine that you run, and navigate to the patches section. Under the installed patches, you can find the list of patches already installed. You can choose any security update and click on uninstall patch to remove this patch only from this computer, from an individual computer. But if you would like to roll back a patch from a bunch of computers, yes, we do support. Again, under threats and patches, under the patches perspective, you've got the installed patches view. This view displays all the list of patches that are already installed in all the computers of your network. So for example, this update is installed into 2 machines, installed the systems. Let's assume that we've got installed this into 200 machines. And if you wanted to uninstall them, just select that and click on uninstall patch. That's going to remove this patch from all those 200 machines. But let's say if you wanted to remove them only from 20 machines, by just selecting that 200 count, this is going to show you all the 200 machines, and you can selectively choose the machines and then click on uninstall patch to remove that patch from a customized 20 machines. So you have the rollback option supported with more customization within Desktop Central Patch Management. Scenario 7, while deploying the patches, I came across below errors on multiple clients. How to get this fixed? So these are all the errors that we have experienced from few of our customers. And we have made a read KB article right after this error. So if you end up with any of these deployment errors, you will find a read KB article, which you can click on and read the information about the workaround that's suggested to fix those errors in our blog. And based on that, you can proceed to remediate those deployment errors. How do I take a patch status report for a specific group of machines before and after Patch Tuesday? As simple as that. You shall navigate to the reports module, add a schedule report, give it a name, scroll down, choose the patch reports, and you have got a bunch of reporting structures here. And let's go one with system health report, With this, you have the filters. With the filters, you can apply the deployment time, the deployed date, which is before and after patch release date. So you can achieve the complete results. For example, even the installed patches, you can apply the filters based on the release date before Patch Tuesday of June. That is June 8 is the Patch Tuesday. So you can collect the reports. What is the status of the machines before Patch Tuesday of June? And then you can collect one another report to collect them. Or you can go on with these filters between this date to that date. So you have a complete customization in collecting the report. And you have an option to add multiple filters together, which works with and or customization. And you can apply multiple filters and you can derive the results. So this is something you can collect the reports automatically. Schedule reports. With the scheduler available, you can define when do you want that report to be sent to you. Every day, once in a week, bi-weekly, monthly, bi-monthly. But you can also derive the same report manually under threads and patches. Patches. Let's take an example of missing patches. I've got the filters here. As already explained, you can apply the filters and filter down the patches. Let me just explain with a critical apply. That has filtered around 44 patches, and I've got 14 patches. So you can export the report right here manually. If you would like to collect an instant report, you can use this method to collect the reports instantly. Or if you'd like to go on with an automated schedule, we would recommend to go with reports, schedule reports. We have collected some questions from the previous webinar and with our troubleshooting sessions from the customers, and we think that would help you a lot in here in this session. So how can I patch my Windows 10 machine in BYOD setup? As explained before, yes, with the secure gateway server in place, you shall simply install the agents, and those agents are going to communicate back. And with the NAC control, you can better manage the security of those BYOD machines within Desktop Central or within your network as well. How soon are the patches available to me after being released by Microsoft? As explained in the architecture, patches are released by the vendors, and our crawler team will be probing the updates and testing them internally in our testing environment. And we will be able to provide the updates to our customers within 10 to 12 hours from the time of release, because when Microsoft releases the patches, it's going to be a huge list of patches, around 200 to 300 patches in their baseline. We will be completing the testing, ensuring the safe and security of those patches, and then releasing it to our customers. Can we ever reach a green state in patch management? Yes. Remember the Microsoft best practice recommendation that we have discussed in this webinar. Based on that, we recommend you to install the criticality and less critical patches on the first week or the second week from the Patch Tuesday release. And then at least on the third week or fourth week, we recommend to go on deploy with all the other low or unrated patches to ensure green state of your organization. I could see a difference in the patches discovered by Desktop Central against WSUS or Windows Update. Why? Let me give you an example. In case of Windows 7 or 8.1 or 2008 or 2012 machines, Windows updates do not show security-only updates as required, but Desktop Central supported the same to achieve the compliance. WSUS detects the updates only from its source, but Desktop Central support patches from varying sources like Windows Updates, Microsoft Catalog, and WSUS. And also, Desktop Central do not support superseded patches, as they are not required to be installed by Microsoft best practice recommendation. These are the reasons you may find the difference in patches discovered by Desktop Central against WSUS or Windows Updates. How are failed patches handled in Test and Approve? The test and approve mechanism that we follow resembles an enterprise organization production systems. And when a patch is failed, we perform the analysis on the reasons for the failure or to identify whether it causes instability issues and release those patches as not approved, ensuring that non-approved patches are not deployed by the customers. So yes, as discussed with our patch deployment mechanism, the automated patch deployment task has got the intelligence to filter only the approved patches to install them onto your targeted machines. And that's why we recommend to target your production machines onto automate patch deployment, and the task will ensure the safe and secure patches to be deployed into your production machines. However, for the enterprise customers, we do recommend to create test and approve policies in their setup to ensure testing and deploying for the safe patches to their production environment according to your own applications running on your organization. And then, is there a way to disable automatic updates of third-party applications like Adobe, Java? Yes, we do support navigated threats and patches, deployment, and they've got a disable automatic updates. So they've got a bunch of configuration support in here to disable the native updater mechanism for the renowned third-party applications. You can create a configuration and proceed to deploy them to disable the Google Chrome automatic updater or Adobe Reader. So yes, it is supported. How can I see what are the patches released in this Patch Tuesday cycle and see all the missing systems? As simple as that. We've already explained this. With the filters, you can apply a filter based on the release date, which is released after June 8 or July 8 to filter the patches that are released after the Patch Tuesday. Some patches have the description of reboot may require. Why is this? Let's say you're installing a security update, which updates the DLL that has loaded in one of the more processes that are required by Windows. This security update cannot be completed while the DLL is loaded in the client machine. Only after restarting the machine during the system startup, these patches will be applied. Or it could be a reason where the security update makes changes to the registry. These changes require to be restarted the computer. Or the other important reason could be that security update could update a device driver that is currently being used and that is required by Windows. And these updates cannot be completed while the device driver is being used. Hence, only when rebooting the machine during the system startup, these updates will get updated. During this situation, we adopt the reboot requirement tag based on the Microsoft requirement. So whenever you find a reboot required, it means that there are some updates that needs reboot to get successfully considered to be installed on those machines. So here comes the end of today's patch management webinar. I would like to thank every one of you for joining this webinar in your busy schedule. You can very well rate this webinar on a scale from 1 to 5, where 5 is the best. You can also spread a word about this webinar as well as about Desktop Central UEM on the below platforms. And the next training will be for Unified Endpoint Security, which is scheduled for June 23, and you can also register for the same. If you are in need of a personalized Desktop Central Unified Endpoint Management demo in assisting you with the best practices on understanding your environment setup, you shall request our chat team and they can help you accordingly. Or you can use this URL to submit a demo request. Thank you so much once again. Have a great day ahead.